looked down at my phone and I had like 20 missing notifications. I went, holy crap.
This is a huge story within the tech world. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, in years.
He was CEO of the most important startup in America.
They're just dramatic. Like, everything is the end of the world all of the time, but it creates good content for sure.
Howdy. On Friday, OpenAI, the company behind hit products like ChatGPT and DALL-E, fired their babyface CEO, Sam Altman. A move which sent Silicon Valley into a tizzy, the likes of which we haven't seen since Bezos debuted the gun show at Sun Valley 2017. You get it, Lauren. In the last few days, while the future of the world's possibly most powerful AI company has been in flux, I've been snorting Adderall, scrolling X, and shooting black tar Reuters straight into my one remaining vein. Why? Because I'm a goddamn newsman. And I'm about to tell you... If you have a life and care about normal things like drinking water or caring for your children, then you might not be fully up to date with the OpenAI tea. So here's a quick overview. On Friday, OpenAI announced that they fired CEO Sam Altman, saying he was not consistently candid in his communications and that the board no longer has confidence in his ability to continue leading OpenAI. They also removed Altman's right-hand man, OpenAI President Greg Brockman, from the board, who then quit in solidarity. Then, after a weekend of speculation and tweetering, reports surfaced on Monday that OpenAI had a new CEO in Emmett Shear, only to be buried under reports that Altman and Brockman were set to join Microsoft, only to be buried under an open letter from more than 700 OpenAI employees saying they would quit if the board didn't resign and reinstate Altman, who was already talking to OpenAI about returning, even though Microsoft apparently didn't know. Hot toddy, it's this kind of middle school goss that gets me up in the morning. Now, all of this shook the tech world to its pasty virgin core, throwing off everyone from OpenAI employees to those directly reporting on the company.
I looked down at my phone and I had like 20 missing notifications and I went, holy crap.
Karen Hao is an AI reporter who's been working on a book about OpenAI for some time and has been embedded with some of the company's biggest figures.
I don't think I understood that the board was so like unaligned with Sam. I thought that Sam and the board sort of had like good rapport and mutual understanding. So this was a very huge twist in the story.
To understand why the board's ouster of Sam Altman was so shocking, we must first look at the company's inception. OpenAI was launched in 2015 by a collection of Silicon Valley heavyweights, including Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, and Altman, who recruited then Google research scientist Ilya Sutskever and former Stripe CTO Greg Brockman to help run the company. And by this time, Altman was already a bona fide Silicon Valley man about the lobby ping pong table.
So before Sam Altman became the CEO of OpenAI, he was the president of Y Combinator, which is arguably the most successful Silicon Valley startup accelerator. His job was literally to take startups from seed stage and turn them into rapidly scaled tech behemoths. His entire philosophy, his ethos, what he's good at is taking ideas and commercializing them.
I think if you came up through the 2010s as a young tech employee, he is the Steve Jobs of your generation.
But while Altman cut his teeth amongst the money-snorting world of venture capital and startups, OpenAI was different.
OpenAI was structured initially as a nonprofit, almost more like a research collective if you think about it.
The company was started as a nonprofit that operated more like an ethics think tank than a Silicon Valley unicorn. Instead of maximizing shareholder value, their goal was to follow the mission of advancing digital intelligence in the way that is most likely to benefit humanity as a whole, unconstrained by a need to generate financial return. Which sounds like something you would hear out of some weird new age socialist monastery rather than Y Combinator. But the problem that OpenAI quickly ran into is if you want to develop new AI technology, then you better have some cash to burn.
AI is an extremely financially intensive industry because of the data centers and the chips required to run these, I guess in parlance of the industry, training models. When Elon Musk left in 2018 and Sam Altman effectively took over the leadership role, and he realized he needed a lot of money. to train these models. And this is where Microsoft joins the picture. And so they carved out a new entity to be able to raise money.
So to bring in more money, OpenAI restructured itself into what they called the capped profit model. This is opposed to a normal for-profit where investors expect the company's number one priority is to grow their investment as much as possible. This model also means that the board is very well within its rights to fire their CEO, even if that CEO is doing a great job of making the company and its investors money. Because again, OpenAI's legal responsibility is to humanity, not its investors.
And so what they did is they set up a for-profit entity controlled by the nonprofit, and investors could get shares in the for-profit entity. But that for-profit entity did not control the company, and the board of directors was for the nonprofit. So you had kind of these more research or nonprofit-y types who indirectly controlled and called the shots over what was then one of the highest valued tech startups on the planet. Very unusual situation.
And while OpenAI benefited from this unique structure, it also created an ideological rift within the company, with some employees operating like a think tank solving ethics problems, and others like a Silicon Valley unicorn developing commercial products. Altman even called these groups tribes in a 2019 staff email. Classic messy situationship, I'll tell you. This division came to a head after ChatGPT launched late last year and unexpectedly became the fastest growing application of all time.
After ChatGPT launched, there was basically a polarizing effect that happened within the company. Like, people that were gung-ho about commercialization, suddenly they have this huge demonstration that commercialization is going to work, basically. Then you also have this other faction that was joined because they were excited about the nonprofit structure and the ideals, that become increasingly concerned because when ChatGPT is put in the hands of 100 million users, bad stuff also happens. There's abuse that happens on the platform. It starts getting used in like unpredictable ways.
Since ChatGPT's launch, Altman and Greg Brockman became the figureheads of the Silicon Valley side of OpenAI. Meanwhile, their old buddy Ilya Sutskever emerged as leader in the ethics camp, more concerned about the risk posed by the tech that they were developing. Sutskever is a computer scientist who became famous for a revolutionary 2012 paper about machine learning, which he co-authored with his mentor, George Hinton. Hinton is known as the godfather of AI, and he left Google earlier this year so that he could freely speak about the risks of AI. And he's totally chill about the whole thing.
Does humanity know what it's doing?
No. I think we're moving into a period when, for the first time ever, we may have things more intelligent than us.
You believe they can understand?
Yes.
Cool.
I talked with Hinton over the weekend. He said that Sutskever became more bullish as sort of he watched the progress that was happening within OpenAI. The more bullish he became about superintelligence coming soon, the more he started to think about existential threats of AI, and the more he started to ally himself essentially with the existential risk doomer camp within the company. To kind of hammer home that point, during a leadership retreat earlier this year, he decided to commission this wooden effigy from a local artist that was supposed to represent unaligned AGI, so AGI that goes badly, and then he burned it as a symbol of OpenAI's commitment to its founding principles. It's sort of like added drama to just who Ilya kind of is as a person.
Drama? Couldn't be this guy.
We definitely will be able to create completely autonomous beings with their own goals. And it will be very important, especially as these beings become much smarter than humans.
So one way of looking at Altman's firing Friday is the culmination of a long-developing rift within OpenAI.
We don't know actually why Altman was fired, but you can see how it could have happened based on the fact that there were already these tensions that were really boiling over.
But there are some interesting first-hand accounts floating on the internet about how exactly it happened, which apparently was all-time Aki-Taco. First, Greg Brockman tweeted a pretty detailed description of Friday's events, making it clear that Ilya was the one who broke the news directly to Altman and Brockman. Then on Monday, Ilya tweeted that he deeply regrets his participation in the board's actions, meaning that 1, he participated in the board's actions, and 2, felt horrible about it and changed his mind, joining the ranks of many other pissed-off OpenAI employees. And don't worry, all of this is going to be documented in Bravo's forthcoming series, Real Dorks of the Bay Area.
It is wild from a personal relationships perspective as well, because Sam was the one that hired Ilya into the company, and then Ilya and Greg, they were really, really close. Like, Ilya officiated Greg's wedding. Close.
Woof. Which brings us to this week. Despite all of the backlash, OpenAI stuck to their guns and hired ex-Twitch CEO Emmett Shear to temporarily replace Altman.
If the board fired Sam because of some kind of issues around this kind of tension between go fast versus go slow, which of course we still don't know. But if that is the case, then maybe Emmett Shear will go slow. But that's as far as we can tell.
As of midday Tuesday, the rumor mill is still churning about Microsoft's possible plan to hire Altman and Brockman to run an AI group within the company, and presumably a lot of OpenAI's employees would join them. But it's also possible that Altman returns to OpenAI, and if he does, the company's gonna look a lot different than it did last week.
It's clear that even if Sam Altman goes back to OpenAI, it's going to be very focused on generating profit. And so I think now it's just going to be a different world.
So who knows what the f will happen? Not this YouTube newsboy, but I do know that I got one question. Does any of this matter? If I bring up OpenAI at Thanksgiving dinner, will anybody know or even care about what I'm talking about? Or will my hammered aunt just think OpenAI is the name of some animatronic K-pop group?
But I think it does, because if we think about AI, we're expecting it to be the future of the internet. Like, it's supposed to be the next World Wide Web, right? Like, this company is trying to develop artificial general intelligence, which is meant to do any economically viable job. Like, it's meant to displace people to a certain extent. So it really matters, like, how they govern themselves and who ends up taking on that role.
In a way, it's a shame because this was the most advanced effort for like a nonprofit or like non-traditional company to be trying to build like super advanced technology that costs a ton of money. Usually nonprofits can't spend a ton of money. And so in a way, it's kind of a shame that the nonprofit side here has probably like nuked their reputation and their credibility to do this sort of thing.
I think it is extremely important to way more people beyond the Silicon Valley business community. I have been traveling a lot this year, particularly in the global South. People know this company because of ChatGPT, and they are excited and afraid of AI because of ChatGPT. It's going to have cascading effects.
Indeed, this story does feel a bit more weighty than corporate shakeups of the past. Over the past few days, we have watched the people in charge of perhaps the most important technology in the world descend into a level of chaos and pettiness that would make the cast of Jersey Shore sweat. And who knows where this story is going? By the time we post this, maybe I'll be the fucking CEO of OpenAI, I don't know. But sweet cream, is this juicy to follow? What a time to be alive. For Good Work, I'm Dan Toomey. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.